With millions of Americans hoping for additional stimulus checks and enhanced unemployment benefits, can the parties agree on another bipartisan COVID-19 relief package? We'll talk about that with Dennis Kucinich, former U.S. Representative from Ohio, a former mayor of Cleveland, and a candidate for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2004 and 2008. Okay, millions of Americans hanging on to this. What's going to happen, Dennis? Are they going to come to an agreement?
Well, they better. We have a situation where people are worried about being evicted, about going into foreclosure. They need money. The government has no trouble when it comes to propping up Wall Street. We have to do it for Main Street. And that, of course, is going to mean another stimulus check, and it has to mean unemployment benefits extended as well.
If you were in Congress, what would be your plan?
Well, I do a couple things. First of all, I think that we are at the point where we need a bill that I talked about years ago. As a matter of fact, that's how I ended up meeting my wife. It was called the NEED Act, the National Employment Emergency Defense Act, which creates the jobs to rebuild America, or in this case, health infrastructure. There's so many different things we need to do, and give people an income. It's urgently needed right now. The other thing I do is to make sure that we had health care available to every American without worrying about having to pay for it. I mean, we need it. We're long past the time for a national health care program. And it's astonishing to me, Larry, that the Democrats can't take a stand for this in the platform in this election, that they cannot say once and for all, we have to have health care for all of our people. If nothing else, but what does it take? You can't even get it with a pandemic? I mean, come on.
Harry Truman proposed it in 1946.
Well, the year I was born. So look, I brought it to the Democratic Platform Committee in 2000, and I was told by the Gore campaign then that they asked me not to present it. And so you have to, of course I presented it anyway, but the point is that this is an idea whose time has come again and again and again, and now during a pandemic, it is urgent that we strengthen the health safety net by making sure that everyone has access to health care, and that the government plays a significant role in helping to pay for it.
What can President Trump do in this? He can't spend money. That's Congress. Can he issue an executive order? What are his options?
Well, look, the Federal Reserve has played a significant role here in being able to create money, trillions of dollars, that have gone to help bail out the biggest corporations in America. They did that in 2007, 2008, the time of the financial meltdown. And we know, Larry, in that period, a lot of people lost their homes. We cannot let this happen again. We have to create money in terms of stimulus checks, economy, 70% consumer participation. We need that to keep the economy going. We need it so people can stay in their homes, pay their rent, buy food, cover their bills. I mean, it's an urgent matter right now. We don't know when this pandemic's going to end. The government must step up. That's what it's all about. Otherwise, what do you have a government for?
Is $600 a week okay?
No, my goodness. It's really nothing. I mean, the numbers have to be looked at seriously in terms of what the needs of the American people are, what are the needs of families who have been supported by one or two breadwinners consistently, who now may be on furlough or laid off or out of a job. We have to take a new look at this for the country. This is about jobs, yes. It's about income, housing, healthcare. These are staples of an economy. And to me, that's the purpose of government. What else do we exist for except to take care of the needs of the people? And when have our needs ever been greater than they are at a period of pandemic where the internal workings of the country are being threatened? This is a moment for America to step up.
Concerning the pandemic, you have a Republican governor, kind of a moderate, in Mike DeWine. Ohio has had more than 93,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19, 3,500 deaths. How do you assess your state's response?
Well, Mike DeWine, I feel, started off in a way that was leading the country in terms of the direction and addressing, taking a leadership position and speaking to people about what they can do, because this is where leaders are really needed to give people some guidance. Unfortunately, Larry, the whole thing about the COVID has been so politicized, and even the wearing of masks has been politicized. And that's not good for the country. I mean, we need to look out for each other. We need to go back to this real solid American position of all for one and one for all, instead of every person for himself or herself. And so I worry about our country. I worry about the fragmentation that's taking place, the polarized thinking, the compartmentalized thinking, and instead of one America, we're disintegrating into so many different Americas, and we've got to get back to a sense of national unity. And frankly, healthcare is a place where we should be able to unite.
The Ohio Board of Pharmacy, Dennis, has reversed its ban on the use of hydroxychloroquine. What do you make of that?
Look, I'm not the one to be able to make an assessment of that. I think that we need to right now make sure that the basics are communicated over and over to people. Wash your hand, wear a mask in public, keep socially distant, take care of your basic health. Don't ignore if you have it. I talked to a doctor, head of one of the biggest hospitals recently, who told me that people are ignoring a lot of health signals that they're getting from their own body because they're afraid of going out. We've got to have people be more vigilant about their own personal health. And, people, this is a time when, yes, government can't do it all. We have to take responsibility for our own self in many ways. But when it comes to dealing with the collective needs of the country, we have to, Congress must step up. They cannot wait this out. They cannot wait till it gets closer to election. That would be so venal to do that while the needs of the people are so pressing.
The race is on for a vaccine. Are you hopeful?
Well, we can only hope, but we cannot wait to meet the economic needs of the people, anticipating that a vaccine might be coming up by the end of the year or early spring. No, we have to deal with where we are right now. And where we are right now is in a very serious position where tens of millions of Americans are worried about a roof over their head, worried about putting food on the table. They're concerned about whether they're going to have a job or still have a job when this is over. The economy is shifting massively, and it's a fundamental responsibility of our government to step up for people, to be there when people need reassurance, when they need to know that they're going to be able to meet their basic concerns of food on the table, a roof over their heads. That's not a small matter. That's probably the most important thing for people. They're very focused on their basic needs, and government ought to be doing the same thing.
It's likely that Joe Biden will name his vice presidential nominee this week. Do you have a preference?
No, I've been acquainted with most of the women who have been named as potential vice presidential nominees. I've known many of them for years. Let's just hope that whoever the vice president chooses to be on the ticket is going to be someone who would have the ability to be able to step in to the position in the event that there was unfortunately an opening down the road. So this is a hugely important choice, and I know it's narrowed down to Susan Rice, who I know, and Karen Bass, head of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Senator Kamala Harris. Look, they're all very competent, capable people who have experience in certain areas that would recommend them to the vice presidency. We'll see who he picks. Like you, I'm watching with great interest.
How's Joe Biden going to do in November?
I think it's going to be a close race. And, I'm not advising his campaign, but if I was, I would say don't take this election for granted. You're not going to back into the presidency. Don't cover the ball as if you've got a lead and you don't have to worry. This is going to be a close race. You cannot underestimate the incumbent. And I would, I was concerned 4 years ago and saw a late movement towards Donald Trump, which resulted in his election. And I saw it, I analyzed it, I called it. Right now, my advice would be this thing could be up for grabs. So be careful and keep working to get a message out about what you stand for.
The old Senator Claude Pepper used to say, always run as if you're behind.
I think that's good advice. And but even more than that, we get into the campaign and the election, but let us not forget that for many people, their greatest concern is an income, food on the table, a roof over their head, health care for themselves and their children. I mean, that's what will win the election. If we stay focused on those things, Democrats can win. But if they get distracted and it all becomes about attacking the incumbent, I don't know. I wouldn't want to predict the outcome then.
Are you going to run for mayor again in Cleveland?
Haha, well, I'm in Cleveland, and I love Cleveland.
I know.
And as a matter of fact, I met you, Larry, years ago when I was mayor of Cleveland. And so will I come back? Will I come back? Stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned in politics usually means yes.
We'll see.
Dennis, it's always great seeing you. Thanks for joining us.
Larry, thank you, and best wishes to you.